All right. Mr. Bot is here listening to us. And Philip, you're here with us as well.
Hey,
Say one
Philip.
minute. Yes.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Feel free to join us one day if you want. Hey, Simon.
Hey.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Alex. What a stage.
One day might have the coolest NFT though.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
why we wait? Like we have 2 minutes. We gotta let like people settle. Wonder what's that NFT? I've seen it change.
Yeah, so this NFT is from Avril 15. Easily my favorite NFT project out there. The artist Tim Donahue, or Tim McDonough, I think. He's just, super talented. So there are a lot of eyeballs in this season. It's from season 1. So yeah. What about yours? Your Cool Cat? I know you've been going through
Yeah.
a few of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay quiet with my NFTs for a while.
Yeah. And Simon.
Cool.
Oh, I was gonna say, I know Simon. He's stayed with the crypto coven.
Yeah, keeping it for a while.
I feel excluded.
There are photographers who mint their photos. So if you mint that profile photo, there you go. It's an NFT.
Yeah.
Arthur, you here as well. You can hear as well.
I'm here. Yeah.
Cool. So this is perfect timing because we I don't think we thought about this, but the call is just falling between World Cup games. So Norway is playing right now, so there's no excuses for people to not show up. Unless you from Belgium and you're just like crying in a corner. I feel for you and I'm sorry. But let's kick things off. So today we have like a very large stage. And as per usual, like if anybody wants to join the conversation, feel free to do so. Just like raise your hand and I'll bring you up here. We try to keep the community calls just like as informal as possible, just the conversation, if that allows. But yeah, like a month passed since our last call, nearly a month, like today's short, but a lot of things happened, especially in crypto. I mean, there's, a month is like what, like 10 years of crypto, I guess. So like something pretty huge happened. I don't know if you have any comments, Simon, or anybody else on the stage.
Wow, we're talking about whole market or Voltz? Because obviously the whole market, there's been November was pretty insane, and I guess anybody that's listening, I hope you were not affected or affected in the most minimal way possible by what happened with FTX. I think there's obviously short term that it is bad for the industry. I think probably long term it's pushes more people towards DeFi, and we're definitely seeing that. But yeah, it's crazy month. But then also from our perspective, it's been more like we've added 100 million of notional traded in a month. Because
Exactly.
I think this time last month we're at 130 million. We're now at 230. So that kind of point around more people being pushed towards DeFi, I think we're definitely seeing it. I think it's very sad what has happened with FTX, and it's very sad that so many people have lost money or probably lost money. But at the same time, I think it's kind of when we talk about all of the benefits of DeFi, one of the most important ones being maintaining self-custody over your own assets. Like it kind of adds to that argument, if that makes sense. And we're seeing more people come into DeFi, or at least into Voltz, as a result.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, self-custody obviously can be a bit daunting sometimes. It's not what Voltz does, but if anybody has questions on like wallets and security and whatnot, like feel free to discuss it. We can always drop 2 cents if you can join the conversation. But you're right. It's been a sad month for crypto in general. But for DeFi, like obviously it's hard to celebrate that. But yeah, we did casually 100 million in a month. Exactly 100 million as today, and we're still today short, so it could be even more than that. Which proves that we starting to see the growth that we like. We're seeing people more engaged as well and asking like really interesting questions. We'll go through a lot of those later in the call. But yeah, short term for DeFi or like crypto in general, it's a bit of a shock. Long term, we do believe that it's a positive to. I think it's too early to say removing bad actors, but definitely there's been some gray areas there.
Yeah, but I think it's also that what we're seeing across the whole market is that basically every centralized entity is encountering issues. And what's so exciting about DeFi is that actually a lot of the limitations that exist with centralized entities is essentially what DeFi solves. And for a lot of people, kind of onboarding into DeFi, I think had been relatively challenging, which is why people ended up going through these CeFi entities. Which unfortunately meant that if you think about that at the most macro level, it meant that people using DeFi protocols through a centralized entity were actually inheriting the limitations of a centralized entity. Kind of for the next cycle, I wouldn't expect that to be the case, because I think everybody can now clearly see the benefits of interacting with DeFi more directly. Obviously, we've got to improve the onboarding experience at the most macro level to get more people into the space. But yeah, in the shorter term, there's been loads of trading activity on Voltz as a result, as people are moving across from, well, there's kind of trading volume that previously existed on centralized entities, which has to go somewhere, and there's definitely a proportion of that which is coming into Voltz protocol, which I think is what's driven a proportion of the growth over the past month.
Super interesting. And definitely it is one of the missing legs right now, is how to onboard people with self-custody and using wallets. It is not the most friendly experience, I would say. Hopefully we find a way that eventually we can like bypass CeFi too. But cool, like moving into more, since you kind of said it now, like we've seen that, or like we've seen a bit of increase in volume at Voltz. Let's talk about what happened the last month, which it's, I can't believe it's just a month, but a lot happened. So we listened to, as we always say, we really appreciate your feedback. There's a lot of stuff happening on the background that like I don't want to discuss yet, because it's a lot and it's really cool. But some of the feedback you gave us was like, hey, season 01 of Community V2, it's really cool, but what happened with everybody that were there before that? We call it the season OG, which won't ever come back. It's just like one of those things, you do it once and it's done forever. We opened the gates for Community V2 season OG, so everybody that was within Voltz got to not just see the badges, but also claim. There's a couple of issues there that we're still trying to solve, but I have on stage Johan and Philip, and in a bit we will talk a bit more in depth on Community V2. But there's a lot of other things, like we have new LP Voltz, Mellow Voltz, a bunch of them, and among that, something that I find really cool, which is like distributing liquidity among different pools from the same optimizer, which like for me, like that's super crazy, but everybody's like super chill about it. So maybe I'm on the wrong space, but I think it's really cool. And I don't see it anywhere else unless I'm wrong there. So yeah, if I am wrong, please comment on Town Hall channel. I'd like to hear from you. LP fee changes, more features coming soon. As I said, there's like a huge pipeline, and we have Kobarish in the audience, who we announced as a product manager joining the previous call, so a month ago, and he's been like going mad non-stop, sorting everything that we need to be building and like providing a lot of guidance for that, which is super cool. And you will very quickly start seeing how the product starts like behaving in like way more polite ways. And I can see it in front of me right now, and it's super cool. But anything do you want to add, Simon or Arthur? Anything I'm missing there?
I don't think so. It's been a month where there's been loads going on in the background, but we've also obviously kind of been releasing the LP optimizer updates, which, like you said, are super cool. Being able to supply liquidity into one vault that then deploys it across multiple pools. Yeah, I find that pretty cool. And then the community V2 is obviously stuff which I think for the most part people love. There's we're going to come on some of the OG stuff. We just kind of mindful that there's a few things that we're fixing there at the moment, but like yeah, the badges and being rewarded for contribution, kind of early contribution is obviously something we've always wanted to do. So it's been nice to get that out the door.
Yeah, totally. Last time I checked this morning, there were around 300 users already that claimed badges, which is really cool. Also, we're approaching rollover. Obviously, it's the last month of the year. We have a couple of questions about rollover. I don't know if we want to tackle them now or just go through them later.
Why don't we do questions at the end? But yeah, by the time, because we do these monthly, by the time we next speak, obviously we're going to have had a whole load of pools rolled over, which includes the LP optimizer pools as well now. But yeah, there's I know there's a few questions on that, so we can cover those off later.
Cool. And also something, I don't know if we announced it, but we are on DeFi Llama at the moment. Joanna did a big push there to make sure everything worked smooth, and it placed us, correct me if I'm wrong, Joanna, like 7th on derivatives markets, I think.
First on interest rate swaps though, so
yeah, for sure. Of course.
I'm not sure what the number was now, but yes, I remember like around 7 or 8. The numbers have grown since then, so I don't know.
Nice. So yeah, sorry about that. We on DeFi Llama, which is something we wanted to have, and we haven't done until now. And there was a proposal for DBank pushed by one of our community members, and it got a lot of votes. Unfortunately, it got denied because of contracts not being open source, which I believe that's not the case. Like Art, again, correct me if I'm wrong. We have all of contracts open source, but I think they have not like properly checked. So we very soon we might push forward another proposal with all of the contract addresses, and yeah, we will call you again to help us upvote those. Because a lot of people mentioned that they would like to see the positions tracked on DBank, so that they have like one place where to go to see all of their DeFi activities. So that's something we have in mind. It's not a huge effort from us, but we want to do it right this time. And maybe I think Simon, you're gonna be heading that one.
Yeah, we'll sort it out just to make sure that they don't come back with the same feedback, because the contracts are 100% open source. So just want to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Endeavor, we definitely want to push with the bank. I tried to approach them on Discord, but their Discord seems to be not very active. So yeah, it's something that we have in mind. It's not a huge effort, and we'll definitely push it. Hopefully we get it done very, very soon. But let's move to SBT's Community V2 OGs, which is something we announced this week. And I have Joanna on stage. I have Philip as well on stage. So maybe since I think it's the first time we have you both on stage, do you want to do like a quick 10 seconds? Who are you? What do you do at Voltz? Joanna, if you want to go first, and then Philip.
Sure. So I'm Joanna. You might have seen my name popping up here and there on Discord. I'm a software engineer. I basically worked on Community V2 lately, but before that, from contracts to data to everything. Yeah, that's about it. Philip?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Philip, and I'm the front-end engineer at Voltz. So pretty much any animation that you see, any nice user experience, that would be the brainchild of myself and Gerard Broccoli, basically.
Nice. Yeah. Philip is my sidekick now, which I appreciate having a lot. So, guys, we have Community 2. Obviously, there's an elephant in the room, which is there's been some small kind of like hiccups, obviously, in the road. What we're doing, like, I think it's worth to say, there's a lot of companies now that they're announcing investment rounds that they want to tackle what we're already doing, and we're doing it internally. So we quite ahead of the pack when it comes to SBTs and like taking our community on change. So obviously we expect that the road is not just going to be straight, and there might be like some hiccups to navigate. And Joanna, maybe you can like give 2 cents on like what have or like basically how we spent the last couple of days trying to fix one of those, and if we have like an estimate of what's going to happen next.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, I want to thank everyone from the community being so supportive. It really helped us, like you being so patient, really meant a lot to us because we are working on fixes. So many people complain that some badges are not showing up. And they've done trades during the OG season. And there are some issues with the old peripheries that we had. So basically, maybe before 23rd of July, if I'm not mistaken, those trades haven't been registered within the SBT record that we have. So if you see any badges missing on trades that you've done before 23rd of July, maybe that's the reason. So we're working on these fixes, and we are hoping to get an update soon on badges that are missing, and hopefully everyone will be happy by then.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, we are very diligent when it comes to pushing anything live. We do a lot of tests and QA, but there's like small things that sometimes we are not aware. But as Joanna said, we're already working on a fix. Thank you for being so patient. All of those that did the trades but don't have the SBTs, feel free to still contact us if you want to know like what's the status and whatnot. We try to be as responsive as we can. But I would always say in general, when you do open a ticket, that means we're going to poke a developer, which means the developer is going to stop working or stop looking at the code, and they get sad. But yeah, feel free to open as many tickets as you want if you need any like extra info. And you're super patient as well, like responding to one-on-ones.
Yeah. Well, something that is good that I extracted from this experience was the fact that everything being on chain means that everyone's activity is registered somewhere and we know about it. So the fix is not impossible. If this wasn't something on chain and something centralized, maybe it wasn't possible to fix this and the activity would have just been lost. So
yeah, totally.
Of the win.
Yeah, so that's the reassurance there, is that there's no data being lost. There's no data that it's not accessible. It's just data that we very soon gonna be able to use because it's on chain. So if you are entitled to a badge, you will get it. That's just a matter of time. But let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the fun stuff. So OG, it was something we wanted to do, but we moved it forward just because the community asked, and Joanna, you've been pushing really hard on that. Tell us a bit more, like how was the whole process? What were the challenges? How much did you enjoy it? And Philip, feel free to jump in as well. So Philip, I believe the whole community was like your first like piece of work, and you can already see like super cool animations when you claim, and there's confetti flying around. That's how it should be. So yeah, Philip, feel free to jump in with Joanna and like explain us about like your experience. And you're quite new at Voltz as well, so if you're having fun, feel free to share that too.
Yeah, right.
Yes. On my side, I think the biggest challenge was the amount of badges. So there are, I won't say the number exactly because there are some Easter eggs as well, but there are many different badges with many different conditions. And also something that you broccoli forgot about was the refer program that we introduced, and also some community badges. So the refer program is based on, so you have a link and you send that to your friends or whoever, and if they trade based on how much they trade on Voltz or how big their trades are, you might get a refer badge, which is based on different tiers. And there are also the community badges. This was the initial idea of Community V2 to move our Discord on chain and to recognize your activity here on Discord, but on chain to have everything on a record. So yeah, there are many different badges, many different conditions, a lot of logic, and I think that was the biggest challenge for me, at least. I don't know for Philip.
Yeah. And you're totally right. Like, and Simon, like, we forgot. We also launched a referral program, right? You can invite your DeFi peers to join Voltz. As usual, we won't tell you what will happen next, but you can imagine there are some badges involved. So I'll let the community figure out what's the mechanics there. But yeah, there's a lot of badges. So that's the alpha today. There's plenty of things to collect. There's Easter eggs. And all of that is what you want to like manage to map out and make sure that they are working when they're supposed to work. So you mute yourself, Simon. Philip, go ahead, Philip, sorry.
Yeah, I can relate on this amount of badges. So it's the same troubles, I guess, on front end as well, ensuring that none of the badges actually leak from season to season, and then also just ensuring that the huge amount of SVGs don't get to load at the same time. So that's also one of the optimizations that we were doing, while also ensuring that people will, or users will see nice loading effects while all of this is happening in the background. And also, I think the biggest challenge here was keeping everything in a way hidden. So we were doing constantly releases, guys, but I don't think that you noticed any leaking of, let's say, community season OG and other nice experience that we were preparing for the community. So that was one of the biggest challenges, keeping everything contained while working in parallel with the main branch.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody noticed, but community OG, season OG was available in the background. Luckily, now is when everybody's like, oh yeah, I did see it, but no, nobody saw it. So amazing job that Jon and Philip put there. Amazing turnaround, because obviously this is something we had in mind, but we only moved it forward because we hear you. And it was one of the biggest concerns, like what happens with OG. Now OG is there. There's a video to celebrate as well. And as I said, like that's something that you cannot achieve ever again. That's why it's OG. Any other comments, Joanna, Philip?
Don't think so.
For me also, yeah, I could add like one more experience, which was fun. Like at one point of time, I remember having like 5 or 6 code pens opened at the same time, like looking into different confetti animations just to get the confetti animation on the button going. I think I'm not sure, but I think the community will like this kind of animation, and it's the first thing that we built in Voltz, and I think that we're gonna also add it on other places so that you get this nice user experience, nice effect.
Yeah, totally. So as per usual, if you have any feedback, anything you wanna share, like we all ears, and Philip loves to hear your reactions as well. Cool, guys. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that you come on stage to explain a little bit what happens behind the scenes and all the hard work you put on. But switching gears as well, there's more stuff that happened on the Mellow LP Voltz, and we have, as per usual, Arthur, but also we have Alex. Alex, is it your first time on stage?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, you know the drill. Who are you?
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi everyone. I'm Alex. Yeah, I've been a software engineer at Voltz for 6 months now, and yeah, I'm excited to, I guess, talk about the latest releases on the Voltz.
You guess, yeah, you guessed right. You should be excited because, as I said, and Simon confirmed, so it's the two of us. We're very excited what the LP optimizer is doing, which is like distributing the liquidity to several pools from one place without you having to worry about anything. But yeah, so Alex, Arthur, do you want to walk us through like how did we push this so fast? How does it work? Why is the gas so cheap? And what it means for the user in terms of like what happens when they deposit something, which no disclaimer, we'll talk about it, but there's a tiny thing we need to fix there in terms of like visibility or what happens with your funds, etc.
Yeah, I guess I can start and then pass over to Arthur if he has anything else to add. Yeah, so basically because we use concentrated liquidity, as some of you might know, when you provide liquidity on Voltz, you have to deal with price ranges, with ranges of rates in our case. And what the LP optimizers do is one that you don't have to worry about these ranges at all. So basically, you just have to provide liquidity, and then the optimizers will just, I guess, put those funds in the optimal position, and then later on, if let's say a new optimal position will come up, then the optimizer will automatically move those funds to that new optimal position. So this is great because you don't have to worry about these movements in the fixed rate, and yeah, basically the optimizer just will do that for you. And we've started with like the first optimizer, which only contained the ST ETH pool, and I think last week we've launched these new optimizers which combine multiple pools at once. So this was great. I mean, actually, the launching the first optimizer was actually harder than expanding it to like these multiple optimizers, just because our integration with Melo was really, I guess, composable. So we were able to extend it very quickly. And yeah, so basically what happens at the moment is that you deposit funds, and then before entering like in this process, first what happens is that according to some weightings, these funds are distributed to like these multiple pools, and also these weightings are dynamic. So let's say if there's a market movement, it might be the case that maybe the weightings are different from the weightings that were 2 weeks ago, let's say. So these weightings are also dynamic, and then what happens is that these funds are distributed to the pools, and then they are used across, I guess, within the optimal liquidity, the LP position, basically. So I guess this is what we've done last week, and also fees. So you might have noticed that the fees are way lower than the fees that you have to pay when you have to provide liquidity directly through the I guess the form. And this is because we've introduced this batching mechanism where we aggregate all of your deposits, and then as it is stated on the UI, every day at 7 p.m. we push those funds to the optimizers, and basically you just have to pay the fees for your funds to reach this buffer in which we hold I guess the deposits, and then from that point onwards you don't have to worry about anything else, and then at 7 p.m. every day you'll be able to see your updated positions on the app. So I guess this would be, I guess, a main overview. Arthur, do you want to add anything else apart from this?
No, I guess, yeah, at the highest level, the goal with the LP optimizers was to try and help the community better navigate the complexities of operating their LP positions across multiple assets, pools, maturities, given the changes and volatility in the markets, kind of with the objective of maximizing the P&L while kind of minimizing the risks of funding rate, kind of being locked into a bad position, and kind of minimizing the risk, kind of not being able to generate fees if the liquidity is not within the right range. But yeah, I think this is an exciting step towards further kind of solidifying the Voltz ecosystem, and now we're excited that Melo is a part of it, and is a big effort towards making the protocol more composable and available, not just for end users, but also for builders who want to leverage these LP tokens in some other way. So that's very exciting.
It is indeed. And we had on the previous call a month ago, Saul, which I see in the audience, explaining how did we fix this gas issue and how is it like so cool that it's extremely cheap. So who needs L2 anyway? But that means as well now, obviously the UI, there's this buffer period where your funds are not deposited yet. So unfortunately, the UI was not prepared to handle that. There is a couple of queues that we mentioned that the batches happen at 7 p.m. But we're working in a quick fix or UI so that you can see your funds just sitting, waiting to be batched together at 7 p.m. So that will come pretty soon. And it's been led by Kovarish, who's reminded me that there is also a survey going around so that we can make these products even better. I'm going to share it on the town hall. He's very kindly provided it. So if I need to approve my link. So I'll share it after the call. Otherwise, you're gonna just like hear me disappear. But yeah, there is a survey that we sent around, I think 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, to ask a bit more information on how do you LP into Voltz if that's what you do, and what things can we do to improve the email vault. So that happened this month as well. Multiple pools that liquidity is treated, which is extremely, in my head, it's extremely cool. But also, I think, Arthur, I'm going to summon you again to talk about the USDT pool and like a strange issue that it's been affecting a few users. But it would be interesting to like kind of discuss here openly, so that obviously I guess we're going to fix it, but as well for people to be aware that why is it happening and what can they do about it?
Yeah, so just to give a bit of context, USDT, unlike a lot of other ERC20 tokens, has a slightly different approval mechanic when it comes to like traders or LPs choosing to approve our the Voltz protocol's margin engine to be able to participate in a position. So what effectively happens behind the scenes as a trader, if you try and open a position in a USDT pool, be it an LP vault or just directly in an LP pool, in that scenario, the SDK, the UI of the UI will prompt you to effectively approve the maximum amount of the token to the contract, such that reapprovals are not necessary to improve the UX. However, there's always an option to go and modify this through something like MetaMask and set this value to be not maximum, or effectively to be equal to whatever amount you want to approve and deposit. But if that happens, then if the next time you then want to increase the amount of approval you have delegated towards the margin engine from, let's say, 100 USDT to 200 USDT, that's not able because that's not possible because the USDT's approval mechanics doesn't support increasing allowances from non-zero. So the most simple solution to this is to revoke approvals and reapprove, which is something we are looking into incorporating in our UI to make sure you don't have to worry about it. But we're also looking into other ways of solving this problem without the need with the idea of avoiding the need to spend more gas on approvals while still giving the users the flexibility to minimize the amount of approval they want to provide if they wish to do so. So it's a high-level update, and more updates will come as we start shipping some of this fixes and UX improvements. But the easiest way to fix this until the programmatic fixes are shipped is to just revoke approvals and re-enter into a position whenever there is a USDT approval issue.
Cool, yeah, thank you for going in such detail. I mean, obviously, one of the complexities we're fighting here is that there's different assets, different pools. Each one of those, they have their own set of rules. So, yeah, if that happens to you, feel free to open a ticket so that we're aware of it as well. But yeah, again, something on our to-do list that we're going to be looking at. But unless anybody else wants to add something, I'll usually take silences as a no. Let's go into QAs. We have a bunch to go through. Who wants to go first? So is the existing pool group going to continue, or are we likely to see some additions / deletions? Simon, you want to take that one?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of why I brought it up right at the start, to say between now and the next town hall, there's obviously going to be a whole load of rollover and new pools. So it's something we're talking about. There's no decisions that have been made, but obviously any feedback that anybody has in the community in terms of what pools you'd like to see or even not like to see, that's always helpful, and these decisions have basically been made at the moment.
Is there anything that maybe we want to ask the community? I don't know, I'm just improvising, but maybe we can.
Yeah, like obviously, if there's any, like I said, if there's any feedback on what pools you'd like to see and also not like to see, we obviously all that feedback we do listen. Like obviously, hopefully, as you can tell, we kind of really try and listen and try and build the growth of the protocol together. So feedback on what you find useful or new markets that you'd like to see launched on the protocol is obviously feedback that we take on board and try and make happen if there's enough people that want to see it happen.
Yeah, exactly. So the person who asked this question, I'm pretty sure is listening. So if you have any feedback to add, please do so. Moving to the next one. Any takeaways from the 10 BP's pool experiment? Simon, you want to take that one as well?
Yeah. Another good question. Is honestly, it's a conversation that we actually had in the labs team earlier today. I think the short answer is still doing some analysis. But again, I don't want to sound repetitive. If there is feedback that people have in terms of the way in which kind of their perception of the way that they behaved as a result of the change in the LP fees, that would obviously be super helpful as we kind of collectively try and make this decision of what's right going forwards. But at the moment, yeah, short answer, still more analysis to be done, and any feedback would be really helpful.
Exactly, especially now that we're seeing like way more volume too. There's no data to compare. Cool. Is there a place where I can find more about the APYs? The question is referring to LPing, and I believe you, Arthur, have been like putting together some info on that.
Yeah, sure. Regarding the APYs of LPs, I think there's in terms of where you can access data, there's always obviously Dune, which is a good place where you can check out exactly how much LPs are making from in terms of fee income, and this is obviously a function of notional traded, which the more notional there is, the more fees are generated by LPs, but also a function of the fee parameter, which determines which share of time-weighted notional is going to feed towards LP income. But the other part of it is the actual cash flows that LPs generate as they get locked into positions against traders. So in order to have a better view of the APY for LPs, these two things need to be taken into account, not just one. So we are doing quite a bit of work behind the scenes, especially kind of as part of improving the overall LP and trader experience around bringing more visibility into accrued cash flows of traders, both from their trades, but also from the fees generated. But alongside that, there's also quite a bit of work behind the scenes that we do in order to simulate the performance of the LP optimizers, and these simulations then feed into the UI, which showcases the APYs. One thing that's worth noting is that, of course, historical simulations are not always indicative of future results, but we try and keep this numbers as aligned as possible as more data comes in. And I guess finally, subgraph is always also there, and it can also be used potentially by builders to construct more informative metrics that can also be then serve the community.
Yeah, exactly. So there's different methods. There's also in the Voltz Labs team an active discussion on how to improve the whole experience. So yeah, just checking again soon. I'm already thinking bringing Kovarish to this stage, probably next call, to talk about some of that stuff. Next question. Can someone briefly explain what makes Voltz 3000x more efficient than other protocols? I'm looking at you, Simon.
Yeah, there's was actually Broccoli is the panel that we did in Barcelona where we got a chance to go into this in quite a lot of detail, but keeping it at a high level. There's basically three main mechanics. There's one which is the splitting of the AMM and the margin engine, which enables leverage to exist in the system. The second is the use of concentrated liquidity, which we obviously borrowed that idea from Uniswap v3. And then the third is actually a kind of novel kind of concept called margin engine recycling, which basically means as an LP, whilst you get locked into a trade initially against a trader's position, when a corresponding trade comes in, that enables that position to be netted off such that the LP's margin goes back into the AMM to continue to collect fees. And at the very high level, it's the combination of those three things that enables the protocol as a whole to be 3,000 or around 3,000 times more capital efficient than other ways of creating interest rate swap markets.
Yeah, so that's the answer in a nutshell, but obviously feel free to reach out again if you want more detail. I'm sure we can provide more info on that. But yeah, that's, like our humble 3kx more efficient. That's how it's built. Next, what do you think of adding YV DAI? I've never said it out loud. So I guess it's yearned DAI and yearned USDC or both to stablecoin yields. Arta, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I was just thinking 3K for now, but yeah, the idea of course, like of incorporating alternative yield sources has always kind of floated around there. It includes URN, it includes a lot of other land borrow protocols and yield sources. However, the current kind of priority and emphasis that we have is predominantly centered around deepening liquidity in the existing markets, which include Aave borrow and lend, compound borrow and lend, as well as staking yield markets. Since we believe that there's still a lot of potential to introduce more use cases, more strategies, more products around them to make these markets more efficient, more available for bigger trade sizes, such that we can then replicate this playbook and for other markets and use cases. So I guess the short answer is probably that we're trying to stay focused on a select few markets and learn as much as we can in the process and keep iterating, and then pour this learnings over into new markets and kind of opportunities.
Of course, just coming back to the point about the new pools, is obviously if there is loads of demand for it, then it is absolutely something we can do. It's kind of, in the grand scheme of things, kind of very easy just to launch a new market. But like Arta was saying, what we're kind of focusing on at the moment is trying to deepen the liquidity and trading in the existing pools such that we can take that and scale that to any market. But if there's feedback, obviously we're here to listen. So if lots of people want that market, then we could create it with relative ease.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the key takeaway, right? So we do active research on what we believe could be an addition to Voltz, but also if there is community feedback and there's a market that everybody would like to see and trade on, like obviously we're not going to walk away from that. Cool. Let's move into. Thank you for that, Arthur and Simon. Let's move to the next question. When testnet drops, we never talked about it. We might think about something, but just unrelated to that, there's an initiative about to happen as soon as next week that will allow for rewards linked to non-programmatic activity, which you will see spawning around in different scenarios, instead of just rewarding a bunch of like test people that we do appreciate for all the effort you put there. But end of the day, what matters there is that it made the protocol better, and we're here thanks to that. So same question, testnet will get some benefit in the future. We'll think about it. Is Voltz 2 is going to be on any L2 in the future? The question of the week.
Well, the question is like is pretty long dated. At any point in the future, will it be on an L2? I think the answer to that is yes. Because there's inevitably. I mean, if you play it to infinity, we'll probably end up on L3, L4, L5, or something. In the shorter term, like it clearly, I understand the question. The question is kind of like the gas fees on L1 are really expensive, and we are obviously mindful of that. That's why we've made some changes to the LP optimizer Voltz as an example to try and massively bring down gas. And it is something that we do care about, both when developing code that exists on L1, where we try and make it as gas efficient as possible, but also is something we're looking at from kind of in the short to medium term going to an L2 of some sort. It's not going to be something which we do immediately, but it is definitely something which we've had conversations about and will continue to explore. We just want to make sure that we go to the kind of the right kind of version of L2 is probably the better way of saying it. Yeah, that's kind of what we're focused on.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So the answer, it links to the next question. Can you record the town hall? Yes, it's recorded. So one of the most asked questions now, it's on record. When L2, now you can play it on a loop if you want to know the answer. So it's going to be recorded. It is recorded. Look, mom, no hands. Say hi to your families. And we will be sharing it as soon as we edit and whatnot. Then another quick question. Did we get an airdrop from Competition SPT? I think that refers to the leaderboard or the trading league. There will be rewards and they will be rewarded on performance there. And then is season 1 badge claimable? Not yet. It will be at the end of the season. You will be able to claim the same way you can claim the OG badges, which will be coming pretty soon because we on the last month of the year. So this is the last town hall of this crazy year where it was launched, and we've been through like crazy meltdown of cryptos and whatnot. Whatever the parts is for next year, it's going to be a lot of surprises. But we're very happy how far we got in, what, 6 months is it now since we launched? 7? Plenty more to come.
6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
6 months.
6 months and like casually, in less than a month we did 100 million.
Exactly. Plenty more to go.
Yep. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Joanna, Wanda, Philip, Simon, Alex, Arthur, and everybody in the audience for your questions, for being here once more. And we will see you probably next year.
Should we wish Happy New Year to everyone?
Yeah. Have a good break in the year, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Happy holidays if that's what you're doing. See you all next year. Thank you very much.
Cheers. See you.
Thank you.